Hey guys, it's Bina and welcome back for another video. Today is going to be the Hydrahedron guide for Season 2. So I have updated this build with, it's a new kind of way of scaling it with the Telfon's Mirage boots. So these boots essentially enable you to get dodge rating while you are channeling, and you're going to be channeling Flame Rush to cast your Hydrahedron automatically after you Flame Rush. So this is kind of like the playstyle of like the third playstyle of Hydrahedron. It's kind of like a ballista, but for mage and with like fiery explosion instead of being arrows. We are leveraging Railwind's Fortress. It's the staff that rewards you for scaling equally dodge, armor, and ward, so that it will give you flat damage based on your either one of those is at the minimum. So gives you one flat damage per 10, whichever one is at the lowest. So why is this so good with Telfon's Mirage? It's because when you are casting, when you're doing Flame Rush, and you are casting your Hydrahedron at the end with Runic Invocation, it is considered still being channeling, even though the node says that it will only cast it after channeling, right? This one says you cast Runic Invocation when you exit, but you still retain the stats for your Hydrahedron as if you were channeling. So these boots just make it very, very good. I'll just like showcase the boots a bit more here. These boots just make it very, very good with 172% increased dodge rating while channeling. It is a cooldown based build. So you will want, this is like probably the only build or one of the only builds where I would not go for tier 7 movement speed on the boots, and I would go for tier 7 cooldown recovery speed instead. But yeah, so basically it's Hydrahedron. It scales with attunement with this body armor here, because you get more damage per attunement for invocations with Raw as their second rune. So that's going to be very, very good. It has a special unique for it with Box of Hydra, which increases the cast rate, the area, gives you ward, decay threshold, and ward on hit. Lots of good stuff. So we'll go into the build guide. So if you're looking for a Hydra, a Rune Master that has sort of like a ballista playstyle, it's not the tankiest. Keep this in mind. It's not the tankiest. You will have to use Flame Ward properly to tank through attacks, but it has a tremendous amount of damage. This is one of those builds where we were kind of, I don't know why, but within the community, most people were talking about Hydrahedron because it got nerfed at some point in the previous patch, and they kind of thought it was dead. And I actually believed it. I believed it. I did not test it properly. And now I've gotten to test it, and it's actually very, very strong. This will deal a lot of damage, and is one of the highest damaging abilities that you can play, actually. So it scales very well. Tremendous power, tremendous DPS capabilities, and yeah, just a very strong build overall. Just, I wouldn't play this in hardcore, okay? I would not play this in hardcore. So let's go straight into it. So turret fantasy, no mana issues, auto targeting, a good scaling with gears and uniques because you're scaling off of attunement, ward, dodge, armor, and there's a couple of niche things you can do, a couple of specific things you can do in the passive tree as well. Very nice. Scales very well with gear. Average survivability, not hardcore recommended. It's cooldown based playstyle, so until you get access to cooldown recovery on your boots and on your belt, you know, it's kind of it doesn't feel the best. No room for positional errors, really. You don't have movement speed here, so while you have a lot of cooldown recovery speed, you don't have movement speed to like dodge stuff while moving, like with your raw movement speed, which requires you to have less of a reaction time. So yeah, it's a bit harder for this, and your defensive skills require timing as always. Flame Ward. This is pretty much a common thing for all mage builds. So let's go straight into the skills. Runic Invocation. So Hydrahedron, you need to be a Rune Master to cast this. You will combine Lightning, Fire, Fire. The good thing about this is that you have this node here, Immutable Order, that you will place your skill on your action bar from left to right, and then the runes will always accumulate regarding the type of the skill that is on your bar. So that's why you want to put Flame Ward converted to Lightning. We're going to see this a little bit later. Flame Rush, and then Frost Wall that is going to be converted to Fire. So that is the order that you have on your bar: Flame Ward, Flame Rush, Frost Wall. So this one is going to cast Runic Hydrahedron. We're grabbing all of the multipliers here. We're grabbing all of the crit stuff. There's a very nice interaction with Enigma. And you might be wondering, Bina, why are you grabbing Enigma? Because our movement ability is actually Flame Rush. Well, the reason we're doing this is because it interacts with one of the passives, which is going to give us double the value from Nimbus Walk. So instead of only gaining 100 ward on traversal skill use, because Flame Rush is automatically casting Runic Invocation, you're going to get 2 traversal skill use while only using Flame Rush. So that is why we're grabbing this node here. These nodes are for the chance to repeat, so you can actually cast 2 Hydrahedrons at once, and the rest is for more damage, right? A little bit more flat damage here. Rune Bolt, this is going to be your main mana generator, so you don't really have any mana problems so long as you're hitting a little bit with Rune Bolt, and you do need to do like at least 1 or 2 Rune Bolts in between your Hydrahedron casts so that you accumulate enough runes, right? You can also Armor Shred a little bit on the enemies here. It gives you a lot of nice buffs, crit chance, more damage. It automatically seeks target. The rest is going for the cast speed, and you're going to get haste, and then double cast to gain even more mana. So basically just when you're going to Flame Rush, when you exit your Flame Rush, you cast maybe 1, 2, or 3 Rune Bolts, and then you Flame Rush again through your Frost Wall. Flame Rush, again, it's your movement ability. It's going to cast Runic Invocation automatically. We're grabbing a lot of stuff here for gaining ward. As always, we need to make sure that we're scaling ward, dodge, and armor at an equal rate so that we get as much flat damage as possible from Ruin's Fortress. And grabbing some damage mitigation here, less damage taken. While you are Flame Rushing, you're really tanky because Flame Rush also has a less damage taken during Flame Rush. And then we're going to apply some more Fire Shred stacks with this. And then this one is just for more speed and range. Flame Ward, classic defensive skill. We're grabbing an extra charge. This one is optional. Cast Flame Ward when stunned. You might like it, you might not like it. Use it if you want to. I do think on this build it's quite nice because if you get stunned, you know, it's not the tankiest build, so you might get stunned at sometimes. Less hit damage taken, LA damage taken, less LA damage taken. Very important, we are converting this to lightning because we want to have on our skill bar an option for a lightning skill to be able to cast Hydrahedron, which is lightning fire fire. So that is why we're converting it here. Frost Wall, we are changing it to fire. This is also going to be a source of fire res shred if we have the point in Frostbite here, because it converts your Frostbite chance to fire res shred. So this alongside your Flame Rush, you will always have 10 stacks of shred on the enemies. It has the Brand of Trespass on application as well. This is going to enable you to use Celestial Doom, which will make you deal more spell damage to branded bosses and gain some ward as well. So this is why we're going here. The rest of the points are going to be to gain ward. This one is very important, Aspirant's Arrival. Damage per second of existence. So this means that whenever you go through your Frost Wall, it's going to calculate the time your Frost Wall will have existed and give a more multiplier of damage to your next Runic Invocation, even if it's cast by Flame Rush. So this is a change with Season 2. It used to be a bug, but they just decided, because it used to be only on direct cast of Runic Invocation, but they just decided to remove the direct cast and leave the bug in the game because it was not overpowered. At least for now, you know. So this is why we're going with this. The rest of the nodes here, the placement of Frostwall, you can use this to make your Frostwall move and gain ward on enemy pass through, and then gain ward based on the enemy's maximum health. So this is just like some extra points that you put at the end here. Additional skill and tips you can see here. I talk about getting double the value from Nimbus Walk. So the passives are pretty straightforward. We're going to go for as much ward retention as possible. Ward retention has been nerfed, so we're grabbing ward in here. As much intelligence, cooldown, damage. So yeah, intelligence, more damage to fire enemies, more fire damage to ignited enemies. So we're going to use this. Ward retention. In the Runemaster tree, we're grabbing Sphere of Protection for less damage taken. Very, very good defensive nodes. Cast speed. Cast speed is not that important, but it does make your Rune Bolt feel better in between every cast of Flame Rush. So we're grabbing this one also for the Ward Burst. Intelligence. Damage versus enemies at low health. You might see this against This is pretty good because on certain bosses where you will not have enough damage to like kill them instantly, I'm thinking about the Aberoth fight, for example. You know, the last phase is pretty much the most dangerous phase. So this will be good against fights like these, where specifically Aberoth, right, where it's much harder. You got laser beams all over the place. So this might be a very good node. But if you don't want this, you don't need this. You don't need the critical strike chance. This is literally only for the damage versus low health enemies. So this node here, Never Late, is quite interesting. The critical strike chance bonus is doubled if the spell costs at least 30 mana, which Hydrahedron does cost more than 30 mana. So you will get double these bonuses because they will apply to your traversal skills as well. And yeah, so it's very good. You get 20 flat crit for Hydrahedron. I mean, it's just a no-brainer here. This makes you cap critical strike chance very, very easily, alongside the Sorcerer node, Calculate Destruction, which gives you 3% spell crit chance per int. So with these and then all of your buffs within your skills, you'll be capped in crit without investing any affix on critical strike chance on your gear. Rune of Dilation, just get a little bit of buffs, move speed and cast speed. Move speed is the best skill in the game. It's the best. It's the best stat in the game, in my opinion. Even though this is a cooldown based build, having more move speed and cast speed is always nice. More damage to bosses and rares. Intelligence here. 3 points here to get some extra flat damage. Because your Rune Bolt will actually be casting all of the different types of elements. You will probably be able to sustain these as you play through the game. This is just for the ward. This is for ward and damage against branded bosses. So all good stuff here. Arcane Momentum, cast speed per stack, and you get increased spell damage. This build kind of lacks a little bit of increased spell damage. So this is a very, very good node. We don't have access to that much of it. We have a lot of flat damage, but increased damage and crit multi are going to be two stats that you're going to be looking for to increase your damage dramatically. Int for the crit as well here. We're getting 2 nodes in chill. You know, chilling enemies just makes them that much more easy to play against. So chilling enemies is pretty important. I put 2 points here to like just make sure with like only 1 point will not be that reliable, but 14% is pretty nice. 1 point here just for 0.3% leech. This build does a lot of damage, so if you ever get to the point where you lose all of your ward, this will make you able to leech your health that much faster. Also gives you penetration. Last 5 points going to Arcane Warden for intelligence and Ward Decay Threshold per int. So that pretty much covers the passive tree. So the gameplay is you place your Frost Wall, you generate a couple of runes with Rune Bolt, and you attack enemies to, like, you know, Armor Shred, stack the buffs that it provides, the more damage multiplier, the base critical strike chance that it provides. Use Flame Rush on cooldown through your Frost Wall to conjure your Hydrahedron, and that will benefit from the Aspirant's Arrival node, which gives you more damage if you go through your Frost Wall. Use Flame Ward defensively, and then use Rune Bolt to generate mana if you do need so. So, very, very simple playstyle, turret playstyle. Here we talk a little bit about the gearing. The setup does revolve around Riowin's Fortress, so you want to stack as much dodge, armor, and ward as possible on every gear slot. Fundamental criterion, that enables your attunement scaling for damage. You will also get more damage while using a staff for Invocation with Gone as their first rune, and Hydrahedron has Gone as its first rune, so it really utilizes very well Fundamental Criterion. On these slots, Fire Pen with Fire Invocation and Armor per raw rune is very important. That is a good affix that you will get to be able to scale your armor. So don't worry if like you don't have armor when you don't have any rune, because these affixes kind of like fix your flat armor problems and enable you to scale armor very, very easily. So make sure that you prioritize these affixes here to scale your armor, even over attunement. Although you could go for attunement on either one of these, you know, either on the helm or on the body armor as exalted. But if you have trouble scaling armor, this is the way. Box of Hydra, pretty straightforward. It provides damage, but also ward. So it also, you know, gives you the cast rate, area, all good. It's a pretty much a no-brainer for Hydrahedron here. Telfon's Mirage, get an insane amount of dodge rating while you're channeling. As I said before, even though you cast a Hydrahedron after channeling, this is considered as channeling for the stats that it provides. In the early planner, resistances can be pretty hard to cap, so make sure to use all of your idle slots and your blessings to fix any resistances problems that you might encounter. You can also go for gold rings. You can also go for a spider silk stash with poison and cold res. So use anything at your disposal. But eventually, you do want to get to an Omnis. This will make it much easier for your gearing, for resistance gearing. And the lowest res that you have are going to be cold, physical, and void. So those are going to be your priority to get high rolls on for Omnis. Keep in mind, in Season 2, we have a new mechanic that you can re-roll even your 1 LP Omnis with 0 LP Omnis. You know, you take your 0 LP, you put them in the Nemesis Egg, they get 1 stat or 1 LP, and then you use that in another Woven Echo to re-roll the entire amulet that you have. So this is going to be pretty easy to get a very decent Omnis dispatch. Penetration, yeah, here I talk about Pen with Fire Invocation. We've already talked about this. Red rings are a, if you are COF, it is very easy to farm red rings. In MG, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but COF, you can farm multiple red rings per day if you just know how to do it with prophecies. I'll probably make a video about how to, like, because people tend to think that red rings are, like, unobtainable. And while it might be true if you don't know the market and you play MG, if you play COF, red rings are completely free. So long as you play, a decent amount of time. And not talking about crazy hours here. Just if you know how to do it, it's pretty easy. I'll go over it in another video, most likely. This is pretty good here. The gloves. People tend to, even I tended to not ignore, but not prioritize damage mitigation to damage over time. And this is some of these are some of the damage types, damage over time, that hurts the most in last Epoch. So getting at least some DR against it is really recommended on any build that you play. Here you do need the 200% armor shred on hit to reach a good cap for armor shred. Armor shred on any hit build is pretty much mandatory to scale your damage. Frailty on hit here. Frailty is mandatory on any build as well to get some mitigation. Okay, if we talk about the idols, Throne of Ambition will give you more fire damage per stack and more armor per stack. So it's pretty much of a no-brainer, especially good against bosses as well. This might not be up all the time during mapping, but for bosses, it's very, very good. So I've added, you have quite a bit of choice for your idols. I've added a couple of different choices here. Mana is good with this affix here, since we're lacking increased damage, increased fire damage, and doubled if you have 300 mana. This is going to be very, very good to scale your increased damage. And then as the enchants, I go for ward per second. So as much ward per second. We are also wielding a staff because you want to scale your ward, and the build is not that tanky. So while you can generate ward in many different ways, having more ways of doing so is always good. Fire penetration, chance to apply frailty on hit. This is especially important when you get to the end game or aspirational setups. Frailty, you really want to have 3 stacks of frailty on all dangerous mobs at all times. So you want to stack this very quickly. This is why you have 2 idols for frailty here. And then ward per second, ward retention. Dodge rating here. I've added this one so that the filter can also show it. And then ward retention and fire damage. So yeah, just really, really strong idol setups. Many choices. Blessings, crit multi, ward per second. This patch, critical strike avoidance, also rolls with dodge rating, flat dodge. So this is a very, very strong passive for this build now, since flat dodge is the thing that we're missing the most, because we're getting an insane amount of increased dodge with Telfon's Mirage. Increased armor, increased dodge, pretty straightforward. Okay. This is where we talk about all of the scaling for offensive stats, defensive stats, the damage. You can read through this if you want to. This talks about whatever is kind of like special for damage scaling and defense scaling. Then if you click on this button, you can copy paste in game for the loot filter. This is going to be updated as soon as Season 2 launches. Just come back to the website, click on it, and then import the filter in game. And these will be updated for Season 2. Here we got a couple of questions. Does Ring-ification retain dodge chance while channeling through Telfon's Mirage? Yes. So these are the most asked questions, but I've already talked about these. So that pretty much covers the build. I hope you have a good time playing this build in Season 2. It is not the tankiest, keep in mind, but if you want like a turret style, ballista play style with the Runemaster and deal a lot of damage, this is the way to go. Keep in mind, the damage early on is it's not the highest, but as you scale with gear, with dodge, armor, ward, this will deal a tremendous amount of damage. So, hope you have fun with this one, guys, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.